For political reaction, I want to bring in CBS News contributor and Republican strategist Leslie Sanchez, CBSN political contributor and political reporter for The Guardian Sabrina Siddiqui, and CBSN political contributor and national political reporter for RealClearPolitics Caitlin Huey-Burns. Also joining us from Washington is Democratic strategist Joel Payne. All right, so Leslie, we were listening to Jan talk about the notion that the president is really, with this pick, taking the fight to Democrats. What's been the reaction from Republicans?
Overall, Republicans are very excited about it. You're already seeing kind of conservative alliances to commitments to put seven figures into political advertising to ensure this nomination moves through as smoothly as possible. They're going to probably aim for some of those really competitive battleground states, put as much pressure as they can. I think from the Democratic side, you're seeing a knee-jerk response to it's insert name here. They had it ready to go on all the health care, reproductive rights, all of those things were already written, and it's not necessarily germane to this pick. I think that's what the disconnect is going to be on that. So it does sound just kind of broad brushstrokes that are in opposition to him, but Republicans overall seem extremely happy and ready for that fight. Last thing I'd add is that the president is staggering this. If you think of Gorsuch, in terms of what Jan was saying and kind of building the bona fides there, and now he's going a little bit more aggressive, and then if there is an opportunity after that, it will get even more aggressive. But he is building the steps, and this one was to put an intellectual conservative who could really defend on the court and argue with the other jurors.
Joel, what about that? Is this a case where Democrats are sort of filling in the blank, with this knee-jerk sort of opposition to a candidate because it's a candidate that the president put forward, and it happens to be that obviously it's a Republican president, and this is what they do as Democrats? Or are there actually issues that are specific to this particular nominee's background that could in fact be openings for some Democrats?
There are, and look, I would expect that framing respectfully to Leslie. I understand what she's saying. But listen, Democrats feel, you have to go back here and take a step back, right? Democrats already feel burned by the entire process because they feel like this is a stolen seat. They feel like this is not necessarily this seat, but that this entire process was jammed up by Mitch McConnell pushing back on Merrick Garland's nomination in 2016. So Democrats are spoiling for a fight. Now, yes, Brett Kavanaugh probably is not the most offensive person you could have picked, but that doesn't make him any less offensive. There are about 25 Democratic groups. I think you showed some footage of them earlier tonight in front of the Supreme Court. And believe me, they represent every cross-section of interest group of the Democratic Party, the NAACP, the Center for American Progress, the People for the American Way, et cetera, et cetera. And they're all worked up about this. So this is a serious fight that Democrats are spoiling for here.
Sabrina, let me ask you, there was some suspense leading up to this pick, right? There was not a name that leaked ahead of time, although some had expressed the thought that when you looked on paper, Brett Kavanaugh would seem to be the obvious pick. What role do you think Kavanaugh's background ultimately played in his nomination?
Well, I think that one thing that separated Kavanaugh from some of the top contenders is his educational background, both his undergraduate and his law degrees being from Yale. President Trump was fairly openly drawn to candidates with Ivy League degrees, and so that could have been part of the calculation. But we've talked a lot about the political considerations as well. The White House has been anticipating a looming political battle in a midterm election year, and I think they wanted someone who perhaps could neutralize some of that threat that they face, someone who's been through the system, someone who knows how Washington works, and not someone who would potentially upend the nomination process by being more of an unconventional pick. Having said that, the flip side of his experience in Washington is that this process could take longer than it might have taken for another nominee because you have more than 300 opinions, as you said, that Kavanaugh has written. You have a paper trail in terms of the emails that he probably sent when he was working at the White House under President Bush. Democrats are already calling for some of those emails to be released or made public. So I think you will see perhaps Democrats trying to seize on his record, the written record, as a way to at least delay the process and slow the process, to say not until every last document has been reviewed should there be a vote on this nominee.
Caitlin, what do you think differentiates differentiated Kavanaugh from some of the other frontrunners in this case? Was it his record? Was it his credentials? Was it sort of a combination of both?
Well, we know Don McGahn, White House counsel, had been behind Kavanaugh from the beginning, and he also is, considered kind of the establishment-aligned pick, having, worked in a Bush White House, having long been at least a figure that many Republicans knew about and knew, and of course his involvement in working in the Ken Starr investigation. What's interesting about this, though, it is a very conventional pick, as Sabrina mentioned, for a very unconventional president. But when it comes to the Supreme Court, Trump has shown with Gorsuch and now Kavanaugh that he does listen to kind of what the experts are telling him in terms of picking a Supreme Court justice. Now, we had seen reports, too, that McConnell was concerned, Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, was concerned about the ability to confirm someone like Kavanaugh, given his extensive paper trail and given what Democrats could really dive into here. But by and large, this is a traditional kind of conservative pick, and you're already seeing Republicans, by and large, be very supportive of this. And I think also Republicans want to be excited about this nominee in particular, and they want to be excited about the prospect of shaping the court for a generation. That's something that a lot of these folks have campaigned on, the ability to vote on justices. And so I think you'll see Republicans pretty happy tonight.
All right. Leslie, Sabrina, Caitlin, and Joel, thanks to you all.